Back at it again, Cigar Spencer. You know what time it is. It's time for the preseason 2023 top 10 defensive linemen coming back in East Texas for this football season. It's always been fun doing these kind of lists the last month, and really more than a month, probably a month and a half now. We've been covering different positions, from receivers to DBs to the running backs to linebackers. Last week was the offensive line. This week, the defensive line. So the top 10 defensive linemen coming back for East Texas. At number 10, Colt Hodges. Colt Hodges was a sophomore last year in Carthage, a part of that state championship run. Really good against the run, good lateral quickness, good lateral movement. Young guy, wasn't like overpowering, like wasn't dominant in his strength yet, but I mean obviously that's coming. He was just a 15-year-old last year. Carthage did it with some young guys on the defensive line last year, but as you can see, he's well coached, scrapes to the ball, pursues well, doesn't run over the top of people. It's just a really smart, well coached defender. I think his athleticism takes off over the next 2 years, and he's an even bigger player over the next 2 seasons here at Carthage. At number 9 from Nacogdoches, Andrew Rogers. And the first thing you notice about Andrew Rogers is how strong he is. You go to his Twitter and he's got his 365-pound bench press. It is one of his videos, and he moves good. He's quick. He's strong. He's just, he's really out there bullying people. He's putting his hands on people and doing what he wants to with them. Slippery. You better be a good offensive lineman or you're not going to get a good block on this guy. Plays defensive tackle, plays the nose, plays the 3-tech, good arm over moves. So we're expecting a good year for Andrew Rogers going into his senior year for Nacogdoches. At number 8, Jaymon Wheeler. Jaymon Wheeler, a speedy defensive end. He is physical in his play, but one of the things that you notice about him right away is just that pursuit. He's a really good, really sudden quickness, which is an offensive lineman's nightmare, just when you can just out of nowhere. But he's one of those guys that can do it. Does a really good job of using his speed and athleticism, especially against some linemen that can't handle him. Expected him big year. He had a big year last year, was first team all district at defensive end. Expecting him to have an even bigger year going into his senior year for 2023. At number 7, we've got Braylon Allison, the huge nose guard / defensive tackle down there in Carthage. These guys showed up in the playoffs, man. You're not running the ball on Carthage. With those 2 big behemoths inside, those guys just absorb blocks, absorb double teams, leave the linebackers free to roam around and make plays, which Mary did last year all over the place. But no, Braylon Allison is a if he decides to do it, it's over. Because when he decides to go forward, not a lot of people can handle this guy. He's just huge, man. Strong. Looks more. I'm sure he doesn't want to hear this. He does look like a D1 offensive lineman because he is huge. And but in the perfect world, he's a 3-4 nose. That's as big as he is. But there's another guy that's just as big on that defensive line, and that's number 6, James Morrow, and he's really the both offensive linemen. I'm not gonna hold you one bit. These are some big behemoths up front for Carthage, and they can move people, but defensively they can't be blocked either, especially against the level of competition that they play week in, week out. When those 2 big tongue guns decided they're gonna go forward, you're going backwards, and they're gonna choke you out, and then they're gonna grab the running back and sling him down to the ground. Both performed really well at the East Texas Combine. They were tough to block in one-on-one situations. They're just heavy ass dudes. Both of them are. They have good hands. They displace linemen. They run them back. They shove them all the way into the offensive linemen into running backs. They're just 2 big behemoths who play really physical football. At number 5, we got Billy Smith from Longview. Billy is just incredible. Billy is a guy that has great athleticism. He's a typical Longview defensive lineman, but he's not a typical defensive lineman. He's probably a linebacker on the next level because Billy's only about 6 foot, 220, 225. As you see him go out there and make that pick and take it back to the crib against Tyler Lee. He's got a great lateral quickness. He abuses the fat guards. They can't block him one-on-one. Holds up well against the run. Billy had a really strong junior year. 13.5 sacks, was first team All-State in 5A football. Nothing to sneeze at all. So he is a guy that is, with growing strength and size and speed, he should dominate football again here in 2023. So in number 4, Kendall Allen, the 6'5", 255. He's probably 265 pounds now. Just 6'5", 265 just sounds like a defensive end in the SEC, man. He is a long, pretty athlete, pause just in case. But man, that dude he's big. He's everything that you want on that size. Looks like he's going to Mississippi State just because you look at the measurements. That's the type of guys that go to Mississippi State. Those are the kind of guys that go to Alabama and Arkansas and those SEC West type teams that are just so dominant upon the defensive line. He's a big old dude, man. Good pursuit. His athleticism could stand to be a little bit better. He'll probably play on the inside. He probably will be a 6'5", 295-pound defensive tackle like Chris Jones from Kansas City. He's got good athleticism, but probably could stand to be on the inside. Don't know. I'm just projecting for college ranks. But as far as defensive end goes, he's going to give a left tackle hill all game long. He can run by you. He can with his sudden quickness. But most likely, what he's trying to do is put his hands on you and do whatever the heck he wants to do with you. At number 4, Kendall Allen, Chapel Hill. At number 3, Darius Smith. No, not Smith. I'm sorry. Darius Shepherd. My dog got a long view. 5'5" wear. Man, this dude is just exactly what you expect out of Longview, Texas, man. You got a guy that is not huge at all, undersized, but it's just as tough and as physical as it can be. Probably weighed 185 to 95 pounds last year, and he got in the mix of every single offensive lineman that there was out there. He's a guy that will play a 2 technique when it's time to rush the passer. He's a guy that's going to play a 6 technique when you got a tight end. He can play the 5. And the biggest thing about Darius is that he shows up at the biggest moments when it's supposed to. You know what I mean? He had 3 sacks against Lancaster in the biggest game of the regular season. He made big sacks throughout the playoffs. A guy that just continuously make plays over and over again. Really tough against the run. You better have your pad level down if you want to root this guy out. Saw it in practice every day. I thought we should have been more dominant. I was mad at our offensive linemen because they couldn't move him, but this kid is just absolutely tough, and that's why he ain't getting moved. He's one of those Lobo tough kids. Got a little pedigree in his name. His dad was an all-state center for Longview in 2 years in a row. So that's Darius Shepherd coming in at number 3. At number 2, Dalton Evans, the Texas A&M commit, the 4-star. The prettiest guy on this list for sure, man. He's 6'5", he's 275, 80 pounds, and he runs routes at 7-on-7 and catches the ball with one hand, and he's just ridiculous, man. The most gifted guy on this list for sure. He's a guy that, you know, if it doesn't work out on the D-line, he can go over and play offensive line. And I know he doesn't want to hear that. I'm sure he wants to make it work, obviously. But, I mean, if you look at him in this frame, the athleticism that he has, that dude will play 20 years in the NFL on the O-line. But he's a defensive lineman, so let's just talk about what he does and now what I think he should do. Really good at getting people off of him. Quick hands off the line of scrimmage. You're not going to get a clean block on this guy. And then when he decides to run, he's faster than you, and he's probably faster than a lot of those people on your team. So he's a huge guy. Texas A&M commit, 4-star. Everything that comes with that. He's just one of those different type of athletes that is going to make a huge impact for Pine Tree defensively in 2023. And at number 1, defensive end / linebacker. He's going to play linebacker, but he also can rush the passer like nobody else. Finished the list in the 70s his sophomore year. He was really high his junior year, maybe in like the teens. And this is a potential preseason. This guy has a chance to be number 1. Boone Morris is incredible. Absolutely incredible. He lines up at defensive end, and he is just mayhem. He is just causing absolute ruckus everywhere. He can do it at the linebacker spot, but he's best at defensive end. Lined up with his hand on the ground, shooting out the stands like a bullet out of a gun, and he can make a tackle. I think he had over 49, maybe 47 tackles for loss, which is like I think he set a national record for how many tackles for loss you can have in a season. Part of that, is on the level that he's playing at. There's some not so good offensive lines that I'm seeing on this highlight tape, but at the same time, his effort and his relentlessness and his speed and his usage of moves and his just pure football athleticism, when he strikes and people get knocked back. Boone Morris has been the best defensive player for a while, in Mount Vernon, and he's been one of the best in East Texas for a long time as well too. So at number 1,